Good evening, my pathology buddies. It's very nice seeing you all through this media. I first want to thank my dear friend Dr. Gujaral for giving me this opportunity. And I want to thank the technical team who is working behind uh, Dr. Ganesh Kumar, Dr. Navjit Malik, and Dr. Gaurav. And it's my privilege to have Anita Madam as the moderator. Thank you very much for joining us, Madam. And I know this is a very tough time. We have so many restrictions, but my humble request is take it as a pleasure. And this we are like fighting a world war, and be happy. And with that thing, I just want to go to the topic, which is how to approach a slide, which is the most important thing as a pathologist. So screening the slide will be the main objective of my discussion. And I want to put the other objectives as what to do before the screening, what to do after the screening. And I want to introduce a term criterion. You all may be knowing what is criterion and how to use it in pathology. I want to stress it again. And again, this will be a very basic presentation. You won't be expecting any rocket sciences. I will give you some references, and I will leave it with a take-home message, and I'm going to give you one homework. And before that, let us have a pre-test and post-test. These are all 5 questions, same questions, and you will be asked answer before the discussion, and let us see how do you do. And after the discussion, let you all see how I did, because you should be doing better in the post-test. You are supposed to be. Let us see. Ganesh, go to the pre-test, Ganesh. Poll.
Okay, so we'll now start with the polls before we start with the presentation. You can see the questions on your screen right now, and please type in your answers. Can you see? I'm sure you can see the questions. The first question is: what is the criterion for adventure?
And can they hear me, Navjit?
Yes, sir, they can hear you.
Yeah, there's only one question, one response. No negative marks. Copying is strictly allowed. Be my friends.
The polling is going on.
To go to the poll section.
Rita, I'm on the webinar. That's, I don't know. I haven't checked.
Okay, the first poll has ended. 65% have said acceptance of uncertainty. 22% have said acceptance of things beyond our control. 5% have said acceptance of good in others. And 6% have said acceptance of person as he or she is.
Super. Let us go to the second one.
So, to go to the next question. The second question is a single criterion for malignancy. Is it mitosis more than 10 per 10 high power field? Is it one atypical mitosis? Is it metastasis, or is it marked atypia? The audience is polling at the moment, sir.
I'm biting my nails and waiting for the result.
So I request the attendees to
poll has ended, and around 68% have said metastasis, 6% have said mitosis more than 10 per 10 high power field, 15% have said one atypical mitosis, and 9% have said marked atypia.
Great.
Now let's go to the next question. The next question is: polarity can't be assessed in. Is it spindle cell proliferation, oval cell proliferation, round cell proliferation, or rectangular cell proliferation? The polling has started.
Please note it's a negative question. Cannot be.
So I request all the attendees to make the vote in the poll section and not in the comments. So only if you enter your options in the poll section, that will be counted in the results. Please try to enter it in the poll section and not in the chat section. Thank you.
Okay, so this poll has ended, and 43% have said spindle cell population, 42% have said round cell proliferation, 2% have said oval cell proliferation, and 12% have said rectangular cell proliferation. Now let's go to the next question. The question is, Rosen's criteria is used in, is it tumor margin assessment? Is it assessment of lymph node metastasis? Assessment of perineural invasion or assessment of lymphovascular invasion? Attendees are polling. Right. So at the end of the poll, 39% have said assessment of lymphovascular invasion, 24% have said tumor margin assessment, 20% have said assessment of lymph node metastasis, and 15% have said assessment of perineural invasion. Now let's go to the last poll before we start on with the presentation.
I hope all the questions are thought-provoking.
Yes, I'm sure. So the last question is, what will be your first homework today? So will it be to open Twitter account and to follow Dr. Raj Singh, or to see the CAP virtual lecture series, to see Dr. Rajendran's YouTube channel, or to see the American Society of Cytology virtual lectures? People are voting.
And please remember, I am very modest.
Okay, so we stop the polling now. And 51% have polled in favor of seeing Dr. Rajendran's YouTube channel. 34% have said that they'll see the CAP virtual lecture series. 9% want to see the American Society of Cytology virtual lecture. And 5% want to see the they want to open Twitter account and to follow Dr. Raj Singh. Now it's over to you, sir.
Great. Thank you very much for attending the poll. Now you can sit back and relax and enjoy the next 40 minutes. I thought reference I should get first to you, because this is what will stimulate you to read. And most of my presentations, I do it in the last one, and the people are hurrying, or I will be hurrying. So this is the reference article, Diagnostic Approach and Prognostic Factors of Cancers. It's in Advances in Anatomic Pathology, Volume 18, Number 2, March 2011. It's a quite old one, but old is gold. And one of the authors, Dr. Gerard Garner, I don't know how many of you know, he is the father of social media. Social media plays a very important role in learning pathology now, and it is sweetly and nicely called as ProMe. Okay, so I think at the end of this thing, everybody should be part of the social media and should be proud to call yourself some show me. And I have given my Facebook, my Twitter, and my YouTube links there. You can, and my email ID is also there. You can ask me any questions. You can send it to me, and you can feel very free. I want very nice interaction. And before starting this, I want to thank Aravindan sir. He did a marvelous job, and he made my job easy. And there will be a lot of repetitions, but you can take it as a different wine in the same container, or same wine in the different container. There is some difference will be there. I want all of you to think about what is criteria. Okay? And the plural is criteria. We use it very often. If you are not using it, you should start using it. Let us plainly put it in simple words, and I hope you can all see this. And just, can you all see my arrow? So the first one is Idli. Okay. And second thing, I 100% agree that everybody will vote for Vada. And the third thing is for dosa. Why I am putting this? why you are all calling this one as idli and this one as vada and this one as dosa? Why you are not changing? Why can't you call it as vada? Because we follow criteria. Criteria is nothing but we follow subconsciously in so many things. If you want to write the criteria for idli, for just for fun, we can say one major criteria and 3 minor criteria. And the major criteria, it has to be white, it has to be round, it has to be concave on one side, flat on the other side. So these are all the factors, and we do it very subconsciously, and we never talk it about openly. Why are you telling that? Okay, so but when it comes in pathology, we take it very formally. How many of you can mistake this as dosa? 100% may not do that, because we are seeing it every day and you are applying the criteria. And I want the same thing to be applied when we are handling the slides. So criteria, the word is derived from Greek, and it's in from 17th century. And the definition in the dictionary.com is a principle or standard by which something may be judged or decided. So if you want to decide on something, you have to follow certain points, and those points are known as criteria. And let us see how we apply in our life. And it's by introducing the criteria in pathology, we want to introduce semi-objectivity in a very subjective. You all understand pathology is highly subjective, but we are all talking about artificial intelligence, and for artificial intelligence it has to be very objective. But as a human being, creators of artificial intelligence, we have to tell the objectives. That's why we introduce the semi-objectivity by introducing the word criteria. So let us see how we apply in the normal day-to-day life. So what is Poisson? What is the criteria for Poisson? To me, the criteria is anything that is more than our necessity. It can be power, it can be wealth, it can be ego, and it can be knowledge. Please understand, too much of knowledge is also poison. It will kill you. So we all should be very happy that we don't have that much of knowledge that will kill us. Second thing, what is fear? It is non-acceptance of uncertainty. When you don't know what is going to happen, you have to accept it. Okay, that none should be left. So what do you mean when you accept the uncertainty? Then it will become adventure. That's the criteria for adventure. What is envy? Non-acceptance of good in others. Many of us envy others. The only thing which we don't envy is death. If it happens to our next door person, we won't be asking why it is not happening to me. Other than that, we ask for everything else. So acceptance of good things in others is the criteria for inspiration. And what is anger? It is non-acceptance of things beyond our control. When you accept the things beyond our control, then it will become tolerance. So I can keep increasing the questions like this, but these are all the criteria you have to follow in your life to make your life more happy. And at the end of the thing, I will give you a reference who told all these things. Definitely it is not me. I am not that knowledgeable. That's why I am very happy. And I will end it up with one more question before the end of this presentation. Caution about the criteria. Never use single criteria, and that's very, 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 very important. Not only in slides, even in your life. If a person is asking too many questions, it doesn't mean he is a bad person. He may be interested in you. If you use the criteria, asking questions is not a single criteria to decide a person. And when you are making a lot of mistake by following the criteria, you change your criteria, because criteria gives consistency. We want to do consistently good things. But when the criteria is not correct, you will be doing consistently, but not good things. So you have to change your criteria when you find something is wrong. With that criteria knowledge, let us see how to handle this slide. So what will you do before seeing this slide? Pathology is the only subject where the active learning starts at 4 o'clock. Many of the postgraduates, when they are entering pathology, they are not aware of it. Okay? And when we tell you have to screen all these slides I will be coming tomorrow for reporting, they will have a long face. Sir, we thought pathology is 8 to 4, we can go home. Sorry, it's not like that, because the active learning is at 4 o'clock. So at 4 o'clock, you freshen yourself, okay? Have a cup of coffee, keep the environment clean, have some light music, and I advise some instrumental music rather than vocal, because vocal means you will be concentrating more on that. And get a good chair, sit ergonomically, don't hurt your back. These are all the things you have to remember to get the environment very fresh, because you have to work from 4 to at least 8 or 9 o'clock. First, arrange the slides and requests in order. If, for example, if the slide starts from 51, goes up to 100, or the request forms are arranged from 51 to 100. First, arrange it. It will take 5 or 10 minutes, but that will save you a lot of time. And before seeing the request, see the slide just a minute in the microscope, because when you see the history, when you know the graphs, you will get biased. So I want some things to be uncertain, and that's the adventure as per our criteria. So I want you to see the slide without any history just for 1 minute and see what do you think, and then read the request form, check the lab information system, or your hospital have a hospital information system, check it, is there any radiology, what are the operative notes, what are the intraoperative findings, and then check the request for gross findings, and then see the slide. How to see the slide, that's what we are going to discuss now. So there are 10 points you have to remember when you are taking a slide in your hand. Certain things you have to see with the naked eye, certain things you have to see it within low power, and certain things you have to see it in high power. So the first one, what you have to see in the naked eye is gross appearance of this section on this slide. Please believe me, this gives you very vital information. Number one, how many sections are there? How many pieces are there? For example, it's a gastric biopsy, 3 pieces given in 3 sections. So there are 9 pieces in this slide. You have to see all the 9 sections. Please believe me, signet cell carcinoma can be sitting in only 1 slide. You may be only 1 section. You may be the greatest pathologist, but if you are not seeing that section, you might be missing the diagnosis. So gross appearance of the section on the slide is very, very essential. So points 2 to 5, we have to see it in the low power, 2, 4, and 10x. So what are they? Normal tissue, is it present or not? When the normal tissue is present along with the lesional tissue, what is the interface? The 4th is cellularity, and 5th is arrangement and pattern. In this time, we will just go through the 10 points, and then I will explain all the points individually. That's the whole objective of this discussion. 6 to 10, we have to see it in high power, and they are individual cells. Mitosis 10 high power field, and apoptosis. Necrosis, if present, how much? Hemorrhage, if present, how much? And other features. What are the other features? Lymphovascular invasion, perineural invasion, tumor infiltrating lymphocytes, tumor budding, margin of the specimen, and lymph node. So this is the 10 points you have to remember when you are approaching a slide. Let us see one by one. See the gross appearance of the slide. There are 5 slides here. You can see the normal tissue here. This is a testicular tumor. See the interface, very well circumscribed. So it is a benign or low malignant potential, and microscopically it is a Leydig cell tumor. And second is a polypoid lesion from the skin. You can see the skin epidermal lining there, and you can see the nice polypoidal structure of this slide. And you see the lesion is lying here. This is a reticular histiocytoma in the skin. Third one, it is a luminal structure with adipose tissue. So it has to be appendix. No other luminal structure is there with adipose tissue. You can think of ureter, fallopian tube, bile duct, but they are all not having this much of mesoappendix. So this is appendix, lumen is clear, but in high power you have to go and see whether neutrophils or eosinophils are there in the wall. This is one of the sections from the prostate. You can see here the Swiss cheese like appearance, but here is the lesion, and this is 3+3 cancer. This is another prostate core biopsy. You can see nicely the tumor crowding there. So looking at the gross appearance of the slide gives you some clue. It will tell you what to look for. Another thing, slides are our friends. If you talk to them, they will talk to you. That you have to understand. Second, normal tissue. Is it present or absent? When it is present, is there any hyperplasia, metaplasia, dysplasia, carcinoma in situ, or carcinoma in that tissue? Why we have to know that? Because of the field change. When there is a normal tissue and the lesion, and the normal tissue is showing hyperplasia or dysplasia or carcinoma in situ, that means it's the primary. Any tumor in any organ, first question you have to ask is whether it is primary or secondary. Because if it is primary in the TNM staging, it is on the lower side. But if it is secondary, it is M1. So it is on the higher side. So to know whether it is primary or secondary, field change is very, very essential. The third point is interface of normal and the lesion. See, imagine this is the normal tissue, this is the lesion, normal tissue and the lesion. Here you see the very well circumscribed. Okay, so this is one of the features of benign tumors. Whereas here you can see infiltration. Okay, so that is malignant. In the previous lecture, somebody asked what is the difference between invasion and infiltration. Invasion is the malignant word we use. Infiltration is also malignant, but infiltration happens without the knowledge of the surrounding tissue. For example, nodular fasciitis, it infiltrates. We never use nodular fasciitis is invading the adipose tissue. So invasion, knowingly going into other territory, it is a feature of malignancy, whereas infiltration, it can be in the tumor as well as it can be in the non-neoplastic conditions, but its difference is very minor. Fourth one is cellularity. There are three options. Hypocellular. Here you can see nice leiomyoma with some myxoid changes. Hypercellular, cellular leiomyoma. Hypo and hypercellular schwannoma. So these are all the patterns. And you know this is a mesenchymal tumor. So when you open up the book, you can go what are all the hypercellular areas. Then this is known as pattern analysis. And many books, please believe me, pattern analysis, after the criteria, pattern analysis is going to be the future. Because when you want artificial intelligence to come in, they have to analyze it by pattern. And many articles have now come depending upon the pattern. If you go to any soft tissue article, they will say hypercellular lesion, and hypo and hypercellular lesions. And the fifth one is arrangement or pattern. This you all know, this is a papillary pattern. Aravindan sir also showed a nice pattern in his presentation. This is more like a glandular pattern. This is a storiform pattern. I hope you all see the cartwheel appearance. That's a diagnostic of DFSP, but many tumors can show that pattern. It's a storiform pattern. And this is a herringbone pattern, which is commonly seen in fibrosarcoma and other soft tissue sarcomas. And the last one is a diffuse sheath. It's a lymphoma. So these are all the various patterns you have to see in the low power. And sometimes this pattern is very important to grade the tumor. Okay. Differentiation into 1, 2, 3. For example, if it is a 90% gland formation, it is grade 1. 50 to 90% grade 2, or 95%, and 5% is grade 3. Less than 5% gland formation is grade 3. So this pattern arrangement is very important for grading the tumors. And it also, this pattern also helps you to differentiate epithelial and mesenchymal. See crystal clearly it is a epithelial tumor and it is the mesenchymal tumor. Here they are arranged in nests. You can see the stroma in between and the blood vessels are lying in the stroma. So these are all the parameters you have to see it in the low power. Are they in nest? Are they stroma present? Blood vessels, where are they? And what about the nuclei? These nuclei are more round, whereas these nuclei are more oval or spindle down. So epithelial tumors are arranged in nests. They show stroma in between the nests. Very, very important, because nowadays postgraduates go in on order a lot of IHCs, but you should not be asking IHC to in these situations for poorly differentiated neoplasm. Definitely this is a carcinoma and this is a sarcoma, because stroma is there and blood vessels are in the stroma and nuclei are round. Whereas in sarcoma, there is no nesting pattern. Nesting pattern is the tumor cells may be arranged in nest, but in between the nest you don't see the stroma. You never see stroma in the mesenchymal tumors, because the stroma itself is forming the tumor, and blood vessels are very closely related with the cells. Here you see they are not related to the cells, tumor cells. They are in the stroma, whereas here they are in close contact with the tumor cells and the nuclei are more woven. I hope you all understand the difference between the epithelial and the mesenchymal lesions. See, life it is if it is black and white, it will be very easy, carcinoma or sarcoma. But sometimes it's a gray zone where you see sarcomatoid carcinomas and epithelioid sarcomas. But when you apply these criteria, we can remove that gray area. Gray area is very good for pathologists. We can sleep very well. It's a poorly differentiated neoplasm. I don't know what it is. It can be a lymphoma, it can be a carcinoma, it can be a sarcoma. But the clinician, and more importantly, patients cannot sleep because treatment cannot be given correctly. So try to use the criteria as much as possible. Even though I am stressing more on H&E, use all the weapons you have in your hand to reduce the gray area. And every one of you, when you are giving a gray area diagnosis, you have to see how much percentage of your diagnosis in the gray area. If it is exceeding 5 to 10%, you should go for a training. The gray zone diagnosis should not be more than 10%. I'm very liberal, I'm telling 10%, but it varies from organ to organ. In the pap smear, your ascase rate should be only 2%. Okay, so try to reduce it as much as possible. And one easiest thing to do it is just think that patient is your relative. If it is your grandfather, can you say, I don't know? You will be trying and doing everything to get the answer, isn't it? So treat all the patients as your kith and kin, and that will help you to find the answer. Coming to the individual cells, now we are going to the high power. In the individual cells, we have to see the size, we have to see the shape, we have to see the cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, and polarity. Size, what are all the options? It can be small, it can be large, it can be monomorphic, it can be polymorphic. Before going into the small and large, you have to understand what is monomorphic. It is a single population of cells. Polymorphic is multiple population, more than one population of cells. For example, Hodgkin's lymphoma, it is a polymorphic, whereas non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is monomorphic. And people misuse the term pleomorphic and polymorphic interchangeably. They are not interchangeable. The minute you say pleomorphic, it is more like a nuclear feature. It is not a cellular feature. So you have to be very careful. Polymorphic is multiple population. And if you see single cell having two morphology, it won't come in polymorphic. Then it will become biphasic. For example, mesothelioma, it can have epithelioid cells and spindle cells. You cannot call it polymorphic. That will become biphasic tumor. Coming to small and large, Arvindan sir clearly told you have to compare it with the lymphocytes and macrophages. But sometimes you may not see lymphocytes and macrophages. So now they are using endothelial cells and fibroblasts. Look at the nuclei of the endothelial cells, the size, as well as nuclear chromatin. What they are telling is when the nuclear chromatin of the lesional cells are very similar to endothelial cells, it is tumor-like lesion. Now you go back and see all nodular fasciitis. The nuclei, the quality will be very similar to the endothelial cells. Whereas when you take leiomyosarcoma, the nuclei will be more hyperchromatic. So you have to remember endothelial cells and fibroblasts, the size and the nuclear pattern, chromatin pattern is very important to decide whether it is benign or malignant. And Dr. Gerard Garner got a nice video, okay, on explaining these things. You can go to his website or in the YouTube, you can go and see his videos. Coming to the shape, it's very easy. Is it round, oval, or polygonal, or whatever may be? It's like giving a small toy to the baby and asking it to describe. Okay, never interpret, just describe. Okay, all the 10 features which we are going through today, just describe it, no interpretation. Coming to the cell membrane, is it distinct or indistinct? It's very essential to know the nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. If the tumor cells are arranged in a syncytial pattern, you cannot assess the nuclear cytoplasmic ratio because you don't know where the cell ends and where the other cell starts. And then coming to the cytoplasm, we have to see the quantity and quality. The quantity is how much it is. Is it abundant? Is it moderate? Is it scant? And quality is how it looks. Is it granular? Is it homogeneous? Is it clear? Is it vacuolated? So that's the quality of the cytoplasm. So remember quantity and quality when describing the cytoplasm. Coming to the nucleus, again you have to see how many nuclei are there. Is it one nuclei or two nuclei or 3, 4, 5, multiple? And then size and shape of the nuclei. If there are multiple nuclei and the nuclear size varies from one to another within the cell, it is a criteria for malignancy. I will be using the word criteria very often because I want that to go through your blood-brain barrier and sit in your brain. The following the criteria is very, very important. Otherwise, you will be calling morning tubular adenoma with low-grade dysplasia. Evening, you may be calling it with high-grade dysplasia. Next day, you may calling it as carcinoma. No, you have to follow the criteria. So what are the criteria to call tubular adenoma with low-grade dysplasia? What is the criteria for high-grade dysplasia? So for every condition, you should have the criteria noted in the textbook or written down in a notebook. Coming to the shape, you have to see what is the shape of all the nuclei. If the smallest nuclei, please note the size and shape of the smallest nuclei and go to the largest nuclei in the same tumor, and if they are more than 3 times than the smallest, then you have to call it as pleomorphic. That's the criteria. Remember, we use this in Wilms tumor as an unfavorable prognosis. More than 3 times nuclear enlargement is the criteria for pleomorphism. Then you have to look at the nuclear membrane. I will show you a picture just in a minute. Then chromatin and then nucleolus. Again, the nucleolus, how many nucleolus are there, where they are located. For example, in a regenerative cell, the nucleolus will be single and they will be in the center. Whereas in a malignant, the nucleolus will be more than one and they can be of varying shapes and they will be sticking to the nuclear membrane. So that's why it is very important to concentrate on the nucleolus. Coming to nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, the criteria, if the nucleus is more than 2/3 of the whole cell volume, it is malignant. Okay, that's one of a very strong criteria in any organ, whatever may be the organ. When the nucleus of a malignant cell, don't take a lymphocyte and don't tell me the nucleus is big, so it is lymphoma. If the malignant cell, if you are thinking of malignancy, if the malignant cell nuclei is more than 2/3 of a cell, then it is malignant. And last one is polarity, whether it is maintained or lost. Let us see this small cartoon to look at the nuclear features. In any nucleus, you divide the nucleus into 4 quadrants and look at the chromatin. The chromatin can be either powdery or the chromatin can be coarse. It can be evenly distributed or unevenly distributed. So there are 4 types of chromatin: fine, uniformly distributed chromatin, unevenly distributed fine chromatin, coarse uniformly distributed chromatin, and coarse unevenly distributed chromatin. This is a criteria for malignancy. This is a criteria for benign end. Again, don't use single criteria because when you look at a carcinoid tumor, it will be like this. Okay, remember, single criteria should never be used. So this is about the chromatin, and see here, when it is irregularly distributed, they go and stick to the nuclear membrane. And this is the polarity, another very interesting thing. And no book describe how to check the polarity. What you have to do in polarity, you have to draw a line all along the long axis of the nuclei. and all the lines should run parallel. See how these lines are very parallel to each other. Whereas here, the nuclei are in different directions. So what do you say to make it easy? So transport or travel in a national highway, polarity is maintained. Travel in the inside the town, it can be either Chennai or Mumbai or Calcutta or any city in India, it is loss of polarity. So again, the criteria is you have to draw a line along the long axis of the cells. So when the cell is round, you don't know what is the long axis. So if any book tells polarity is lost in a round cell tumor, don't believe it, because in round cell tumors you cannot determine the polarity. To maintain the polarity is very important for benign in non-round nuclei. If the polarity is lost, it is one of the criteria for malignancy. And please remember, the nuclear features are very important to identify the malignant potential, whereas the cytoplasmic features help to decide what is the cell of origin. Mitosis, we usually count 10 high power field, whether it is normal or abnormal. And to know the mitosis, just one simple thing about normal mitosis: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. The prophase will be like a...
Rajendran?
Yes, sir.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
There is a student, he wants to know how to confirm polarity in artifactual cutting when you have on the sections.
Take another section.
Perfect.
So, super. So it is like a flowers. Whereas in metaphase, they all will be in the center, and in the anaphase, it will be at both ends. Telophase, it's almost divided, but you can see the connection. And these are all cartoons. In real life, it will be like a nice flower bouquet, prophase. Whereas metaphase will be like a caterpillar. In the anaphase will be two triangular area with the spindles. If it is a nice section, you can see the spindles. So these are all the various patterns, and this is a bipolar normal mitosis. When you see abnormal mitosis, look at here. He is like doing home exercise because they cannot go to gym in Corona period. Okay, and look at here. This looks like a mini satellite. Okay, these are all non-bipolar mitosis. Is atypical mitosis. I told you we have to use single criteria. Never use single criteria, but this is the only single criteria which indicates malignancy. When you see atypical mitosis, even one, it is malignant. People are talking about apoptosis. It has not come into the regular reporting. But if you see too many apoptosis, see them here. You just report. The one of the tumor that has a lot of apoptosis is Merkel cell tumor. All high-grade lymphomas. Just mention them, but currently today we are not counting them, and they don't have any prognostic significance. Somebody asked about.
Sir?
Yes.
You have around 5 or so minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Some people called about area of mitotic count. It's very easy. When you look into the eyepiece, you will have two numbers, 10x and 18. Okay, that 18 is known as eye field number. Okay, so by using this thing, it's very easy. When you see it, 18 by 40 is the objective. If you divide by the objective, it will give you a diameter. And from that diameter, this is the thing taken from the cap for this diameter, and this is the number of mitosis you have to see. And mitosis and atypia should go hand in hand with a malignant diagnosis. But when you see only one, for example here, highly atypical, but there is no mitosis, it is degenerative atypia, symplastic leiomyoma. When you see too many mitosis, but there is no atypia, then it is regenerative mitosis. The mitosis has to go hand in glove to call it malignant. Atypia and mitosis should be seen together. Coming to necrosis, see, this is a testicular specimen, epididymis, full of necrotic, and you all can identify the granulomas here. This is a tuberculous epididymoarthritis. This is another area of hemorrhage in a testicular tumor. This is one of the section of that tumor. You can see this much of hemorrhage. It's around roughly the hemorrhage and necrosis. You have to quantify grossly. That's very important. And this is a choriocarcinoma. Necrosis itself, there are three types of necrosis: ischemic necrosis, infectious necrosis, and tumor necrosis. In ischemic necrosis, it will be very bland. You might have seen it in leiomyoma because of the lack of blood supply. Infectious necrosis, you have seen in TB, lot of inflammatory cells with neutrophilic dusting. Whereas tumor necrosis, this is one of the best example of glioblastoma multiforme. You can see the palisading necrosis, and they are away from the blood vessel. The cells around the blood vessels are viable, whereas the tumor cells away from the blood vessels are dying, and you see a lot of apoptotic cells in the tumor necrosis. So you have to differentiate necrosis into three types. Coming to the last one, lymphovascular invasion, perineural invasion, tumor infiltrating lymphocytes, and tumor budding with the tumor margins and lymph node. I'm going slightly faster mode because I think I have only 3 more minutes. So lymphovascular invasion, you can see very nicely lymphatic, and they are all sticking to the wall, and it is trying to escape into the lumen. You can see the RBCs. Look at this picture. These are also looking like they are in spaces, but is it a real lymphovascular invasion? To differentiate lymphovascular invasion from pseudo lymphovascular invasion, Rosen has given very nice criteria. Number 1, you have to look them at the junction of the tumor and normal. Number 2, those things should be all around the neurovascular bundle. Number 3, it has to be lined. The space has to be lined by endothelial cells. And number 4, the emboli should not take the size of the vessel. For example, here it's a retraction artifact, taking the exact size of the retraction. And the peritumor invasion, perineural invasion, here you can see it is really perineural lymphovascular invasion. And remember 3 P's: parotid, pancreas, and prostate. That will have the 4th P, which is nothing but perineural invasion. Coming to tumor infiltrating lymphocytes, these are all the things we are just noted down now. You can see the tumor cells here and lot of lymphoid cells. There are 3 types of tumor microenvironment. The lymphocytes are the environment for the tumor. So this is an inflammatory type of tumor microenvironment. Whereas here, nice example of a small desmoplastic tumor, and this is a mesenchymal type of tumor microenvironment. And this is a squamous cell carcinoma with paucicellular microenvironment. Why it is very important? Because when you see a lot of lymphocytes, they are sensitive for immune therapy, whereas the mesenchymal and paucicellular microenvironment are resistant to immunotherapy. Tumor budding, the definition is 1 to 4 cells, and you have to go to the deepest area of invasion, and you have to count them in 20x. You should not go to 40 objective, 20 objective, and depending upon the eyepiece diameter that you have to count, and this is the table you have to remember. If it is less than 5, it is low. If it is 5 to 9, it is intermediate, and if it is more than 10, it is high. Margins, there are 2 ways of giving margins, and you have to know that when you are seeing this slide, because if you see tumor cell anywhere in this end phase margin, it is positive. Whereas here you have to see the tumor cells at the inked margin to call it as positive. And when it is positive, it is our duty to say which margin, is it superior, inferior. And when it is negative, now they want to know what is the nearest distance with the particular margin. Margins are negative, the nearest is 3 millimeters from the lateral margin. That should be in our report. Lymph nodes, you have to carefully see it, and before seeing the lymph node, look into how the primary tumor looks. For example, this is a lobular carcinoma breast. It is very hard to see the tumor cells in the 10x, whereas in 40x you can see. And when you do immunohistochemistry, you will be surprised to see a lot of these mimickers of macrophages. Those are all the metastatic cells. And when a tumor is positive in a lymph node for metastasis, next important thing on the slide is the extracapsular extension. It is penetration of the capsule and going into the adipose tissue. And you have to be careful when you see them in the afferent lymphatics, it is not extracapsular extension. Benign and malignant, basic things. These are all the interface, cellularity, differentiation, NC ratio, nuclear pleomorphism, necrosis, apoptosis in the low power, chromatin nucleolus mitosis in the high power, and growth rate and metastasis clinically. Depending upon these features, it can be either benign or malignant. I will just leave it on the, I'm not going to read through everything, just take a shot of it. Super. So after seeing the slide, arrange the slides in order. Never ever put the slides, respect the slides. Don't put it as a pile over here. Arrange them in order. Write down your description, diagnosis, differential diagnosis, and the protocols. If you want to call any for clinical information, call in the evening itself and get the history. Read and keep the references ready in difficult cases, and take a positive attitude in the next day morning. Okay, if they ask how many trays are there, you tell only 10 trays. There are 10 trays. It is not a good attitude. There are only 10 trays. 8 trays are nothing. Only 2 trays I have references for them. That will make the consultant very happy. And please use to follow these 3 words: sure, please, and sorry. So in conclusion, there are 10 factors you have to remember. 5 of the and these are all the things, 1 in the naked eye, and 4 of them in the low power, and 5 of them in the high power. So this is the take home message. So the homework for you is, with this, how to approach this slide. You have to go to Twitter and you have to follow Dr. Raj Singh. He is a dermatopathologist in New York, and if you follow this website, he has 20 slide seminars, and they are all the topmost people in the areas of expert. Okay, so 20 slide seminars are available for free from the topmost pathologists in the world. Please go to Twitter, be follower of Dr. Raj Singh. And let us go back to the post test.
Thank you, sir. The talk was really engaging. It was wonderful. So we will launch the post-talk polls now. These are the same set of questions displayed at the start of the talk. So we'll start with the first question.
Just give me 30 seconds for each slide, each poll before going, because I want to compare the results.
Sure, sir. Sure. So the first poll is on: what is the criterion for adventure? And the options are acceptance of uncertainty, acceptance of things beyond our control. C is acceptance of good in others, and D, acceptance of person as he or she is. So the attendees are on the polls now. So we'll give them a few more seconds, then we'll end the poll. So 82% have opted the first option, which is acceptance of uncertainty. And
very good. The previous pre-poll or pre-test is 65%. I'm happy. Many of you understand what is the criteria for adventure. You can go to the next one.
Yes, and the next option is acceptance of things beyond our control, 12%, and the rest are 3 and 1%. So we'll go to the next question.
Yes.
So the second question, question in the poll is single criteria for malignancy, and the options are mitosis more than 10 per 10 hyperfield, 1 atypical mitosis, metastasis, and marked atypia. So I request the attendees to kindly vote in the poll section rather than in the comments or in the chat section. Please go to the poll section. Thank you. So a single criteria for malignancy, 74% of the attendees have voted or chosen 1 atypical mitosis.
Super. It's from 15, it has come to 74, but I'm still not happy. I want 100%. So for all of you, even if you see 1 atypical mitosis, it is malignancy. Try to disprove it. Okay, the ball is in your court. Next one.
Yeah. So we go to the third poll or the third question. So which is polarity can't be assessed in, and we have 4 options: spindle cell proliferation, oval cell proliferation, round cell proliferation, and rectangular cell proliferation. So the poll is on. We'll just wait for a few seconds. And 87% of the attendees have chosen or voted for round cell proliferation.
Wow, it's 42% before the discussion. It's 87. I'm still not very happy. It has to be 100%.
Yes, but
Next
I
case,
can see the difference. They have been
Yes.
eagerly listening to your talk.
Yes.
And we'll go to the next question, which is Rosen's criteria is used in DASH. And the options are displayed: tumor margin assessment, assessment of lymph node metastasis, assessment of perineural invasion, and assessment of lymphovascular invasion. So the polls are on, and the attendees are voting in the polls. We'll just wait for a few seconds. So yeah, we will end the poll in a few seconds. So we have 86% of our attendees choosing assessment of lymphovascular invasion.
Great. It's 39 to 86. Rosen described it for the breast. I think we can use it for any other organ also. 86%. It's a good number.
Yes.
Next one.
So we'll go to the last poll or last question. So what will be your first homework? One, to open Twitter account and to follow Dr. Raj Singh. And second, to see CAP virtual lecture series. Third is to see Dr. Rajendran's YouTube channel. And fourth, to see American Society of Cytology virtual lectures. The poll is on. The attendees are recording their options. We'll wait for a few seconds. There seems to be a slight change in the options compared to the pre-test poll here.
Is the results out? I think 81% for Raj Singh.
Yes, sir. Just will end. Yeah. So 81% have opted to open a Twitter account and to follow Dr. Raj Singh.
I'm so happy. It was only 5% before. And all the things which I told you, the criteria for life is from the great Turkish poet Rumi. And I want to end it up with the last one. What is Herter? It's a non-acceptance of person as he or she is. And the acceptance of person will become love. I want to say I love you all, and I want you to be the best in your field, in the world, and to bring more happiness to you and to our country. Thank you very much.